So let's talk about Java. What is this Java programming language? Java is simply a list of unambiguous instructions meant to be followed mechanically by a computer. The details of how the computer executes these instructions are not terribly important, but there are a few basic things that you should know. Java is a high-level language, and a program written in a high-level language cannot be run directly on any computer. First, it has to be translated into a machine language by a program called a compiler, and once the translation is done, the machine language program can be run any number of times, but of course it can only be run on one type of computer. Since each type of computer has its own machine language, and the computer can directly execute a program only if the program is expressed in that language. In Java, this process of executing a program is very similar. Java source code is compiled to intermediate bytecode. The bytecode is then interpreted and executed by a Java Virtual Machine (JVM), which makes it a little bit slower. But this brings benefits, including that of not having to recompile a Java program from one system to another because it is enough for each system to have its own JVM. And that's kind of being one of the design goals of Java. And it is also one thing that makes it really unique as a Java or as a programming language. That is, it runs on a virtual machine. Java is object-oriented. That means that the main focus of the development is to organize projects into consistent, manageable pieces. As a developer, I've come to really appreciate well-organized code as it saves time and money. In comparison, procedural programming is a set of step-by-step instructions that the computer must follow. A procedural program can consist of a series of conditions and function calls for logic. But as programs got bigger and bigger, this proved to be difficult to manage, difficult to plan. Instead, object-oriented language will split this one large program into self-contained objects, almost like having several mini programs, each object representing a different part of the application. Now, each object contains its own data and its own logic, and they communicate between themselves. In addition to its portability and object orientation, one of Java's initial design goals was to be small and simple, and therefore easier to write, easier to compile, and easier to debug, and best of all, easier to learn. Keeping the language small also makes it more robust because there are fewer chances for programmers to make difficult to find mistakes. Despite its size and simple design, however, Java still has a great deal of power and flexibility. Java automatically handles memory management for you, and all you do is allocate memory for new objects. And then you don't really need to worry about freeing up the memory afterward. Java uses a technology called garbage collection to remove unused things from memory that your program no longer needs. For Java, it is the responsibility of the system, not the programmer, to keep track of which objects are garbage. Java is modeled after C and C++, and much of the syntax and object-oriented structure is borrowed from the latter. If you are familiar with C++, learning Java will be particularly easy for you because you have most of the foundation already. Another feature is that Java is actually quite similar to C#. They are both object-oriented, both are designed with semi-interpretation or runtime compilation in mind. Both use garbage collection and both are curly brace languages. So a lot of the language concepts that you are going to see here are exactly the same for C#. And if you already know C#, learning Java should be a snap. And really one important thing to know about Java is that it is a computer platform. There are lots of applications and websites that will not work unless you have Java installed, and more are created every day. Java is fast, secure, and reliable. From laptops to data centers, game consoles to scientific supercomputers, cell phones to the internet, Java is everywhere. So let's go through some history of Java. The Java language was developed at Sun Microsystems in 1991 by a small group of Sun engineers called the Green Team, led by James Goslin. The team worked around the clock and created the programming language that would revolutionize our world. At that time, Java's goals were to be small, fast, efficient, and easily portable to a wide range of hardware devices like television sets, VCRs, toasters, and the other sorts of machines you can buy at any department store. It is those same goals that made Java a general-purpose programming language for developing programs that are easily usable and portable across different platforms. The Green Team demonstrated their new language with an interactive, handheld home entertainment controller that was originally targeted at the digital cable television industry. Unfortunately, the concept was too much or was much too advanced for them at that time. But it was just right for the internet, which was just starting to take off. In 1995, the team announced that the Netscape Navigator internet browser would incorporate Java technology. Over time, Sun has released 3 major versions of Java: 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2, which is called version 2. Even though the releases of the Java development kit from Sun continue to use the numbering scheme of 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4, and etc. Version 2 seems to finally bring Java into the prime time, in particular where user interface tools are concerned. A couple of years later, J2SE 1.3 added new tools including the hotspot JVM, a new version of the Java Virtual Machine, the Sound API, and improved debugging. In 2002, version 1.4 added new tools in the language. And then in 2004, in a major milestone, J2SE 5.0 was released, known internally as 1.5. From this point forward, Java would be known as Java 5, Java 6, Java 7, and Java 8, and so on. Today, Java is the invisible force behind many of the applications and devices that power our day-to-day lives, from mobile phones to handheld devices, games and navigation systems to e-business solutions. Java is literally everywhere.